So we are talking House on Elm Lake. I feel this title of this movie was designed to try and hit some horror keywords there. It might well be called The Last House on the Left in Elm Street, which is near Crystal Lake, or something along the lines of that. Some keywords there to attract horror fans, I am sure of it. As it stands, this is a low-budget British horror drama directed by James Class, and is a kind of a supernatural occult film. It follows a small family, a couple and their young daughter. They're not married, they're kind of just boyfriend, girlfriend. They've got a young daughter kind of around sort of 11, 12, something along the lines of that. And they move into this kind of new house out in the kind of rural country somewhere that they've got for cheap. And the reason they've got it for cheap, there was some brutal murders there made by some weird satanic Papa Smurf looking guy. Brought forward, obviously it's brought the house price down. Obviously they move there, things start to happen. The guy seems to be affected the most. He is turned into sort of a blathering kind of killer, and there's all sorts of kind of ghosts and ghoulies that are out to kind of haunt this couple. So what do we think of House on Elm Lake? This is a very low budget film, and I've got to say I had some issues with it, but let's talk about the positives first of all. The main positive here, I would say, is it does have a ambience that does remind me somewhat of the classic Hammer horror films. It has that kind of creepy eeriness, that weird sort of gothic ambience that you may have got in the older kind of the Hammer horror films. So that was definitely, I felt captured that kind of that flavour, that kind of that British spooky gothicness that you would have seen maybe in those films. Other things I would say, there are some kind of quite, just not exactly disturbing, but some kind of creepy imagery that is used, these kind of hooded figures. I think the opening scene of the initial kind of massacre that happens in this house is pretty strong. The lead actress here was fairly good, although she does whisper her lines quite a lot, which I found quite irritating because you sometimes struggle to hear what she's saying. The male lead was okay, and I also thought the actress who played the psychic medium who tries to help this couple was also fairly good. However, this film, I would say, is fairly weak source in a lot of other areas. It's actually a remake of an earlier movie, I think 2014, which was the same plot and actually had a lot of the same cast in it, which has been remade to be slightly higher budget with a few tweaks in it. But I've got to say, maybe they should have put a little bit more money into it, because it really does suffer from low production values here. And I have to say, even though I thought some of the performances were okay, there are some really terrible ones. And I hate to be that guy. I hate to be that guy that has to pick on the child actor, but man, the child actor here is possibly one of the worst child actors I've ever seen. She literally mumbles everything she says and is some of the worst acting. Like I said, I feel bad. I got the feeling maybe she's the daughter of someone involved in this production, but unfortunately, whenever she's on screen, it takes her out severely because it's so weak, unfortunately. I've got to say, the threat itself also, this kind of like Papa Smurf looking guy, not exactly the most kind of like menacing of adversaries, even when you kind of like got blood on his face. And there's one kind of disturbing scene where he's naked and kind of attacks this small girl. I was thinking, that's probably disturbing in the wrong way there, because it's not really a sexual motivated attack. It just, I thought, but maybe that's not particularly, very good. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so the actual just production value here is kind of low. The acting's all pretty low rent. There's some just obvious kind of things that just seem really stupid to me. I mean, this murder in this house is very well documented. It's on the internet and everything, but they just happen to find this journal from the killer just on a shelf that documents pretty much everything that is going on. And that would have been taken by the police. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not as if it was hidden away in some secret compartment, things like that. So it's just a bit kind of like hammy. There's a kind of this forced love triangle in there. And ultimately, it just becomes a bit forgettable and cliche. It doesn't really do anything new with the genre. It just kind of like hits those same old, hauntings that you've kind of seen before. Like I said, I think it does have a few touches of visual flair, at least. But I just don't think the story is particularly strong. I don't think the performances are generally not all that strong. And the direction is quite pedestrian, unfortunately. It kind of seems like a very kind of low budget TV drama, to be frank with you. So overall, it was a little bit disappointing. Not terrible. If you are a fan of the kind of the old Hammer films, you may like some of the visual flair of this movie. Like I've said, I do find the kind of the occult stuff quite interesting in regards to movies, and there are some hints that things that may have been visually quite cool, like these weird costumes and stuff that maybe some of these occultists would have worn, but wasn't kind of explored enough, if you ask me. So yeah, unfortunately, it was a bit of a miss, this one. Not a car crash. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Just leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.